In California, we can see just what happens when a castrated paedophile is set free.
Convicted sex offender Kerry Verse, he created a firestorm when he settled in the Bay Area 2 years ago.
He's been out since February 2004, causing concern from neighbors wherever he's gone: Mill Valley, Oakland, San Jose.
Kerry Verse had spent 12 years locked up for 5 violent sexual assaults. 2 of his victims were 14-year-old boys. To the crowds of protesters, his chemical castration made little difference.
He's supposed to be chemically castrated, but you can still remove that implant in his arm.
I was trained to deal with the public and protests and all that. I thought, well, it'll just die down because they have so much other things to talk about. But the fact that I kept moving continued the story. It kept it going of where this guy is going to live.
Kerry Verse had been forced to move 4 times in 14 months when a local defense lawyer offered Kerry a place to live in his office complex.
In my pilot program, you'll be able to find that. He did have a horrible and felonious past. I think that he's gone beyond that. I think that rehabilitation has taken place. I don't think that he will ever reoffend again.
Good afternoon, Law Office. This is Jessica. How may I help you?
But once again, not everyone was happy to see a convicted paedophile moving in.
I was molested as a child, and when I heard that Kerry Verse was being placed, 2 blocks from my house, that was just like, this could not happen. I remember the first time I seen him, I was like, I got chills like from my head all the way down to my feet, like, oh God. My son is the age of a little boy that he hurt. I didn't want him by my kids. I didn't want him by my house. So I just started contacting people, and we just formed, and we met at school. We passed out flyers. We even went into protest in front of Kerry Verse's house, in front of the lawyer's office, 24 hours a day for like 4 or 5 days.
Kerry Verse weathered the storm, and for the next 2 years, he began building a new life. He got a job and found new friends.
I've known Kerry for the 2 years that he's been here, and I felt very comfortable. I actually feel more comfortable when he is on our property when I work at 12 o'clock at night to have somebody here in our city. Nobody I ever saw felt threatened by him. We'd have a gathering here with children, and he would have games for the kids to play. After the first 6 months of him being here for me, Kerry didn't become Kerry the sex offender. Kerry just became Kerry.
I just want to let you know I appreciate so much what everybody's done for me for the last I don't know how many days, months, or years, and it's just been a wonderful ending to this whole saga. So this whole party's for you guys and all.
I like Kerry Verse very much, and I trust him completely. We're always invited to the parties, and everyone in my family has been to one of his parties. My 4 children, each and every one of them know Mr. Verse and have a friendly relationship with him.
Kerry seemed to have won over a hostile public. In 3 years on the outside, he hadn't put a foot wrong. And then while we were filming, he was arrested.
The case of convicted sexual predator Kerry Verse indeed is back in the news again. This weekend, Walnut Creek police found him in a car with a 14-year-old boy. But there's a twist to the story. The father of the child who was in the car with Verse told CBS 5 he gave his permission. In fact, he asked Verse to give his son a ride to a local mall.
It wasn't too bright. It wasn't. They don't consider it a crime or anything, but it just looks. It's one of the things where I was kind of being overconfident. I think sometimes it gets frustrating because it's been 15 years since I committed the crime, but I still have to keep living as if I'm still a danger.
Kerry has jeopardized his hard-won freedom. Without written permission to give the 14-year-old a lift, he's broken the rules of his release. Tomorrow, he'll face a judge.
He's the most scrutinized man in the state of California. He has the global positioning system, and he's got the chemical castration, but on top of that, he has to call in and get permission to go pretty much anywhere in the state, and he has to have his route approved by Liberty Healthcare.
In California, Liberty Healthcare monitor convicted paedophiles in the early years of their release. What they say in court tomorrow will be critical. Unknown to Carey, they are preparing damning evidence against him.
We do not feel that Mr. Verse adequately understands his sexual disorder that causes him to act out sexually. And he has put himself into very high-risk situations, and he doesn't seem to understand the gravity of what it is that he's done.
For one thing, I don't consider myself a pedophile. I committed these crimes when I was a teenager, and I have no interest or sexual interest in children. And that's been tested. I take a polygraph test every 90 days, and I've passed like 13 in a row.
His victim pool included 14-year-old boys. He offended against 14-year-olds, and the fact that he's putting himself into close proximity with 14-year-olds is very concerning to us.
When I first found out what happened, I was like, I knew it. And then I was thinking, at first I was like, well, how come they didn't make a big deal out of it in the news? So I said, before I get all upset and, thinking what should we do now, I really need to look and see the facts of what happened. I believe he was innocent. I think that he was giving the little boy a ride home. I just think he got caught at the wrong time, wrong place at the wrong time. And, I feel bad for him.
Mr. Verse needs to be in custody long-term?
Well, my recommendations will...
What started out as a minor traffic infringement for Carey Verse has become big news.
I think it's an excellent question, because I think his insight into how he needs to...
If the judge rules against Carey, it will be a major blow for chemical castration in California.
I know what I did was wrong. I recognize what I did was wrong. But I could lose my home, I could lose my car. There's so much to lose, it would devastate my life, even if it was for a month. And I don't think that would be justice at all.
Remain seated, court's in session.
Carey Verse has not committed a crime. But after 10 hours of closed court, the judge rules against Carey and sends him to Atascadero State Hospital.
About your reaction to today's decision?
The Department of Mental Health had requested that Mr. Verse be remanded back into the hospital for further treatment.
From what I heard, he cried in court, and it's gonna hit him hard because it's unfair, and he's gonna take it really hard because he really wanted to come back and he misses everybody out here.
Most people just kind of numb. When you go through something like that, you don't know what to think. You just kind of feel like it's surreal, like it's not really happening. Then I went back and I just went to bed. I was hurting a lot, I realized that my life's going to change.
Carey Verse has already spent 6 years in Atascadero. After so much effort getting out, he faces being locked up there indefinitely.
I'm scared I can spend the rest of my life in that. There's no guarantee you're ever going to get out. Of course, that's terrifying to a person who's 36 years old. Just nobody wants to die anywhere, but especially in a hospital like that.